Hello, everyone. This is Baruti Carl Alexander with the 172nd episode of the Sourceseeker Hour. And we're going to have a very important conversation given a lot of the things that are going on in this world right now. Let me do a slight recounting, and then I'm going to introduce my guest. So we've had a Colombian student. I think his name is Khalil. He has been deported. Supposedly, he was the one of the head protesters that started the protest at Columbia University. We have had a tough student, that's TUFTS University student, that was deported because she wrote an op-ed in the school newspaper. Then we have a Maryland father who has been deported because they said he was a member of MS-13. And then we have a conversation going on about the legality of homegrown deportations, meaning a U.S. citizen can be sent to another country or sent to another prison outside of the U.S. So it's a lot going on. When we first came up with this conversation, we were talking about the effectiveness of mass deportations that ICE conducted. Is that a good thing? Is that going to make our country more safe? But the conversation has broadened. So I'd like to introduce my guest, Michelle Cobin from New York. Hi, Michelle. And Rusty, a world traveler, just got back from Thailand. Is that true?
Oh no, I'm still in Thailand right now.
Oh, still in Thailand. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
6:40
Well,
in the
we are
morning.
so, and how many hours is that away from, where would you come fly back into? Would you come back into New York or Washington, D.C. from Thailand?
Oh no, I fly back into the West Coast or into
So
Houston.
Los Angeles?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So how long is that flight? About 15 hours?
No, it's about 19 hours.
Woo. I went to Arusha, Tanzania, and that was 15 hours, and that was an experience. So, but world traveling is a very beautiful and important thing to do. But let me ask you, do you have any trepidation because of some of the things going on in the world?
Oh, there's a lot of trepidation for sure. I'm surprised at the support I get around the world, almost sympathy for us being from America. Uh, that people kind of look at me and kind of turn their head and it's like, what do you think? They don't know what I'm going to think, because they think I might think like him and I don't. So, once that's established, things kind of calm down.
I understand. I understand. Um,
Yep.
it is, and it's still under 100 days of his presidency, so we're not sure where this is going to go. Um, Michelle, we were talking about you and the people of New York did not see this as a surprise. But where do you think it's gonna possibly go? Is he gonna kind of find a middle ground or kind of tone it down a little bit, or is it gonna expand?
I mean, I really can't predict that. How can you even predict what this crazy man narcissist is going to do? Um,
But let me ask this: will the other parts of the government kind of make him tone down? Like the Supreme Court and the different factors, or somebody in his own government, or is he just going to run rampant, or will that have any effect?
I believe someone's going to turn on him again. I just feel that, and I maybe wishful thinking and too many movies that I've watched, but I just feel that it's going to come to a point when they're going to have to just and I don't mean take them out in that way, but they're going to have to say, hey, you know, enough is enough. I mean, I think someone's going to, just like Hitler, it came to a point where he was out of control and they stepped in, and other parts of the world stepped in and had to do what they had to do. That, I think that was just
I
gonna
would
happen.
really hope it doesn't get to in any point in comparison to Hitler, that we'll have a come to Jesus way before that kind of destruction happens.
Well, well, it's different times. So we have social media, we're on here talking, we have that, which they did not have back then. So think about it. When that was going on, there was other parts of the world that didn't even know that what was happening in the country or in Poland or around, right? But now, and just hit the phone and you can see what's happening in Thailand, right? Right, Rosie? Now you could literally see what's going on there. So we're in a different era, in a different time. So I don't think it would even escalate to that, because people know right away. Like, I'm on my phone and I see people posting about something happening. Oh my God. And Texas, was it Texas? No, Florida. Same thing. Texas, Florida, it's the same thing to me. No offense, but I was like, what happened now? And that shooting that happened, right? Just that quick. I mean, it just happened, and it's just that quick. Think about when Hitler and World War II, that was like, what, 1940 something?
It started in about 33 to all the way to 45.
40, right, 44 it ended, maybe. Everybody started coming home, 44. Well, whatever
Probably
it was,
45.
just think of the era. There were barely phones, TVs. So we're in a different era. I don't think that it will, I hope it will escalate to that type of um place. But I
Let
think
me ask this, going on our subject, staying on our subject. Is there any good parts of deportation and what they are doing? Of course, they
no,
say they're getting rid of criminals and those who
no,
have no right or shouldn't be
no,
here to help our society. Are there any good parts in your opinion?
no. You're talking to a New Yorker. No. I mean, the shooting that happened just now it was American US citizen. So I mean, clean up your own country and clean up what's going on with mental health, and start building institutions and proper places, and um you know
Dealing with mental health, and that's one of my pet peeves, that it's easy to kind of put on paper, but when you're really trying to deal with it, it's one of the most difficult things, because you're dealing with another human being in the mind, and to try to get inside and try to help somebody who may or may not want them to help you, and they may or may not want that help. It's the most difficult thing. It's easier to just move that person along. And that is one, just looking at it from the other side, it's easier just to get rid of that person rather to rehabilitate them.
So I didn't say anything about rehabilitating. I'm just saying that it moved them mentally, US citizens that it mentally, you're worrying about immigrants coming in, and you have problems here, is what I'm trying to say. So I have a problem with them. It's a distraction. All this stuff about immigrants is a distraction to the bigger picture of what they're doing to our country and to our government. This is just a distraction while we're sitting here fighting over immigrants coming in, and a flood of immigrants. They're busy doing something else over here. It's like that whole, like I said, con artist. Like you're over here paying attention to this, well, we're over here doing this. Like,
well, the argument is, yes, we do have a lot to deal with and try to fix, but then you adding extra people who don't have to be here in their opinion. So they say, okay, let's take care of our own people before we allow all these other people to come in. But that takes away from our doctrine of give me your poor, your needy, and we'll help them also. So it's a dichotomy. Rusty, what is your comment on this conversation?
So, I think he's an incredible showman. And so he wants to give the perception of the strong man.
Mm-hmm.
And the mass deportation is just a way that he puts fear in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because now he says, we'll build prison for the Americans and send the Americans to El Salvador. Uh, I question whether or not the numbers of people being deported are any higher than what they've always been. I think it's more he makes it a show and he makes it a humiliation, and it makes us all kind of wonder, what should we say? So he's trying to put us all in check. He's not just trying to control the people that have come across the borders. He's trying to put us all in check because
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah,
like you're saying,
yeah, go ahead.
A
like you're
distraction. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I think there's so much going on behind the scenes that there's no way we'll know all the destruction that I had dinner with my good friend the other day, and he says the whole goal of this is to destroy America. That's what he's trying to do. And so it's not just the immigrants. He's trying to destroy America.
Do we think he really? I don't think. Now Steve Bannon might think about trying to do a third term, but if he finds a way, he might go for it. But I know he understands, even within, I believe, the Republican Party, it would be a lot of fight back on that. I believe, but with the immigration thing, you're correct. He's a showman with that, and he knows people. We operate in self-interest and fear first, and
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
if he's attaching and attacking that fear, and he's using that, that's how he got elected
Right.
again. Even though
Right.
he has multiple charges, he got elected because he said, "Hey, I'm gonna take away your fears and I'm gonna make it safer," even though it may not, in the essence, because we do have, as you said, Michelle, American-born criminals who are American-born people who do wrong things too, and they're not necessarily, dealing with that because that is a real hard thing in this environment that we have. So, but what he's doing he's defying the Supreme Court also
Mm-hmm.
because they said bring this guy back from Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
and right now they're not doing that,
Right.
and he wants to show, hey, I'm in charge,
Mm-hmm.
not you, Supreme Court. How you going to enforce it? And
yeah.
so we're going to have to see where this goes. But if he can get away with that, who knows what he's going to do? He is talking about homegrown criminals, and who can that be? That could be anybody who they deem, because the people that they're talking to now, the lady just wrote an op-ed. So that's going to take away freedom of speech. People are very scared. He's attacked the law
It's all
firm
about
and the educational institutions.
Mm-hmm.
But Harvard said no. So we're going to see whether other entities will stand up, and that's going to be the rub in the road. We'll see how that goes. But it's a different time. Even having this conversation here, uh, we don't know if this is a free speech zone, or somebody will want to hear and checking everything we're saying.
Right.
I
And
don't
knock
think
on
it's
the
like
door.
that. I don't think we that on that level yet. But who says it may not get there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, what is the climate like in New York where you are, as far as how people feel about the possibility of deportation?
It's hard to tell because New Yorkers are New Yorkers. Like they don't it's we're lifing, you know, like we're busy doing what we're doing. What I can tell you is because I do work as a substitute teacher in the New York City Department of Education, the largest school system in the nation. And when they were busing all the migrants up to New York, we, you know, had a lot of them. A lot of the parents are not sending their kids to school because they're afraid. Every block that I could take you to blocks, and a lot of the immigrants would be out there selling stuff. Now, the fear was a fear for like the first 2 months, but I see them right back out there. They're like, whatever, you know, like I got to make a living. I can't, whatever. So, and I'm talking, it's not just the Mexicans or the South Americans or the Central. We're talking the Caribbean. We're talking about the Africans with the handbags and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I encounter all of that every day, most of the time. They're out there. So they may be afraid, but they're still, they have to make a living. So they're back out there. They're not, you don't see them. No. I want to say you don't see them on the streets as much, but yeah, you kind of, they started coming back. Like I said, when he got elected and he got, you know, January, we got back into the White House and then he started deporting everybody and all the crazy stuff started happening. The streets of New York were like quiet, like all the spots that you would go to and you'd see vendors out there, like, and vendors don't have license, just out there with the tables and doing what they do. You didn't see.
And was that
you
kind
didn't
of
see
all
anybody.
over New York? Let me make sure I know the boroughs of New York: Queens, the
5.
Bronx,
It's
Brooklyn.
5. There's Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and the Manhattan, money-making Manhattan.
So
So
where's
the
Harlem
5
in?
boroughs.
Where's Harlem in?
Harlem
Isn't
is
that
in
a
Manhattan.
borough?
Harlem is not a borough. Harlem is, I know it's a borough of itself, but Harlem is the tip of Manhattan. She's
Okay.
uptown. It's Harlem.
Okay.
It's
All right.
Manhattan.
Has the effect of what's going on with Mayor Adams affected the city?
Yeah, now that has affected the city. Also for a minute, because like I said, it's seriously like a New York minute. He's not going to be around for a next term.
He's running.
No, he's running, but they're not going to elect him. Nobody here is going to elect him. We might get Cuomo back because Cuomo is tough and he has the same aggressive attitude as Trump. And the New Yorkers feel that he'll stand up to Trump and tell him to go F himself, like he did during the COVID situation. Now, I mean, Cuomo has his faults and we all know them. And if you don't, read about it. But he has that tough, they're from Queens. They're from the same same borough. And they have that same edge, Cuomo family, you know, and like the Trump family. And Cuomo will tell him to go F himself. Like, you know, and I think that's where the people feel comfortable. Like we need somebody that's not going to be a puppet, that's going to stand up to him and tell him to go F himself in public.
So Adams working with Trump and basically kowtowing to him is the perception, and that's going to affect him in the election. Mayor Adams.
Yeah, it already has. It already has. Nobody can trust them. Nobody can trust them. And even if he didn't do the things that he did, nobody can trust him. No,
Okay.
I mean, nobody here feels, you know, it's just too much. Unlike Trump, you know, Mayor Adams is not Trump.
That's true. That's true.
So,
I did see his I guess interaction with AOC when they had the hearing, and he was having a little trouble in that context. Do you think Trump is gonna, the same question that I asked her earlier, do you think he's gonna be modified by the legal and our system of government? Will that modify him or will he go further? What's gonna happen with that, Rusty?
Well, I really thought that, our three branches of government were equal, uh, but he's dismantled that
Mhm.
system
Mhm.
and rendered it ineffective. Uh, I see John Roberts as a key component in all this, and hope that it seems like he still has a bit of a soul, and so I hope he will lead the Supreme Court and stand up, against the other conservative justices. To me, that's kind of our last hope.
Oh,
We're going to have to wait till the midterm elections, to see what's going to happen in the Congress. But right now, kind of we're his toy, and he's doing whatever he wants to with us. And it's all, again, he's a bully. He has the presidency, so he has the bully pulpit,
mhm.
but he's using it for evil. And I don't use the word evil very often, but when I see what he's doing to people, and again, it's the fear. I know that again, it's the show, and I know he's trying to strike fear in everybody, and that means the Supreme Court, that means the Congress, that means the American people. So we're all put on notice. This isn't just about immigrants. It's about citizens, U.S. citizens, and
If he
I
if he
I
gets
hope the ballot box will be the way that we control him eventually, but it's almost like the damage is done.
Yeah.
yes, and that's he's going with a blitzkrieg way, trying to get a whole lot of stuff done that will change everything, and that legacy is already there. And maybe he's setting up, even if he's not going to run, he's setting up his system to continue, his system that he's putting in place now to continue and basically changing the world and so forth. That homegrown citizen thing that they're discussing, is there any chance that is going to happen? Do you think? What you think
It's going
about
to
that?
it's going to take a whole lot of people standing up, and like I said, he's striking fear in so many people. How many of those people are really going to feel like standing up? I mean, the people that are standing up now, more than likely did not vote for him. It's
Yes.
going to have to be the people that voted for him that are going to have to stand up. But peer pressure
Well,
is strong.
I say
And so
one thing: if he messes with Social Security or Medicare, Medicaid, that will make a lot of people say, "Hold up now." But he's already stated he's not going to do that, and he's intelligent to know enough to know that
He's not
that'll be the
intelligent
beginning of
enough.
revolution. What, Michelle?
No, he's not intelligent enough. He's not intelligent enough. He says something, but that doesn't mean he will not do it while we're over here having a conversation about the immigrants and fighting against each other. So what would happen is we'd wake up one day and there'll be no money for Social Security and everything. And then he might be dead or he might be whatever happens, but that's just what would happen. So he's setting it up. And then you have the people like Elon Musk, who is against all of that. We have to remember he's from the apartheid from South Africa. So he wants to take us back to that era, right? He's not even an American citizen. He's from South Africa, grew up in apartheid, and he's wondering, why do you have all these monkeys over here, taking over? Like I grew up where they need to go where, you need to segregate everybody. We need to go back to that. And Trump's like, oh, yeah, you sounds good to me. Like, all right, that sounds good. We need you over here. Yeah, come on.
That
You
would
got all
create
the
a
money.
very, if they
Huh?
pushed out, that would create a very hostile environment. And I'm not sure they would like to go back to that because some people are saying, no, that's not going to happen. We're
Oh,
not going to ever allow that to happen. It would be so much turmoil in the streets. That's what I'm saying, Michelle.
like the LA riots?
It would be worse than that.
No,
It would
I
be worse
agree. It
than
would
that.
be a civil war, like the movie that they just recently made called The Civil War. And they made that movie
As
talking
a
about,
precautionary tale.
right. So yes, that can happen, but who would pay? It wouldn't be the rich people, the billionaires, who will get in their planes or get into their mansion or get into their gated communities. It would be, and the billionaires on their yachts or something, it would be us fighting, right?
I think, some smarter heads or some more moral heads who have a love for our country would step in, or who have respect for the rules of our country would step in to have a pushback before that happens. Now, it can hit a crescendo where there's no stopping it. However, I hope that there's enough people that will come in that, because that's been talked about quite a few times, a civil war possibly happening. But, people see the danger zones of that. And that wouldn't be good for nobody, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. And the average person that has at least a brain understands that that would not be a good thing. But we also have to remember the class system as well. So if you're super rich, you're so isolated from the everyday things, like you mentioned Social Security. They can't even relate to Social Security. So if they're taking Social Security away from us, they don't understand and they can't even comprehend, because these are billionaires. Why would anybody want Social Security? That is the dumbest thing that was ever created in their minds. So you're talking about a system that is stupid. It's stupidity. Why would you want Social Security? You're an adult. Create your own. Why would you need the government to create a Social Security? So think of how they think. You know what I mean? But
If we
the
have enough,
average person,
go ahead.
this is a safe, this is for us, right? For most people. But there's that small percentage that are so rich that they can't even understand why you would get on a plane. So all these planes that are falling out of the sky and helicopters, they can't even understand that, because they have the super duper duper, not the Boeing, but the best of the best planes, flying them to Thailand for a week, then flying them to wherever else they want to go. You know what I mean? So they don't have to go into the airports. They don't have to worry about the things that the average person, even the first class seaters, we're talking about their own private planes. So they don't understand any of this that we're talking about. This is like, they're like, why? Why would you want this? Like, let's start from scratch. Let's wipe all of this out and start from scratch and make America great again. Like, make it great. That's what they're saying. And I get it, because I get their crazy, it's not even crazy logic. It's just how they are. That's how they're raised. If you watch a show, Successions, they don't even understand, like, drive a car. Who drives a car? I don't drive my car in New York. I call up whomever, my chauffeur, and they pick me up. You know what? We're not even going to do that. Let's call the helicopter so we can fly out to the Hamptons and we'll avoid all the traffic. So
If there are too many of those, we are kind of doomed. I hope that there's not so many billionaires with that kind of mentality, because that's not a good dream for us to go to. That's not a good dream. Hey, Rusty, you're in the Asia continent. What is, huh?
Let me just add something real quick. You were asking a while ago about how we're going to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
and I said he has the bully pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if, as a country, there's a blurring of lines of church and state now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. It's all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if the church, if the true pulpits in the communities rose up in defense of their people, if that kind of a grassroots reaction begin to happen in the churches, that might be a way that we could turn this around, because there has to be, at some point, there has to be some moral responsibility. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
has to be willing to step up and take the moral responsibility and say what's going on is not right. And
Mm-hmm.
it's going to have to be done all over the country. And
Mm-hmm.
AOC can go around the country and have their rallies. But again, those are believers, and we need all believers to understand what's going on. And like you said, if he starts doing Social Security, Medicare, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's like a bigger grassroots. But it feels like the church has a responsibility here.
Mm-hmm.
To, the church has a responsibility. In some
Mm-hmm.
ways, the church has got us into the situation we're in now, and those people need to come to Jesus meeting themselves and
Mm.
figure out what's really going on here.
Well, some of them think he is sent from Jesus.
So they
That's a
do.
problem, right? Where's the Jews that believe what they believe, right? They should know better. But
Mm,
a lot of them have power and money, like the Kushners, and they rule the world, right?
yep.
So here's what I agree, and I have hope, because I believe I'm an optimist, and I believe humans, we have the ability to overcome. We're more good than we are evil, is what I'm
Agreed.
trying to say. So I do believe what you're saying can happen. And I believe it's going to come to a point like it did, if you look at history, like the civil rights and everything, where everybody was doomed and they didn't think anything was ever going to happen. But I think when people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and when they start laying it out in the middle of the street, or they start saying enough is enough, and the churches and people stop paying for stuff, and nobody's out shopping and all this stuff, somebody will wake up.
Yeah.
I just want to, there's a big thing that may affect that happen. China has canceled over 8,000 orders for Boeing planes. And that is going to affect the economy. It certainly affected the Boeing stock. If enough of those things happen, that he's going to have to make a recalculation. So what do you believe is going to happen with that China trade war, Rusty?
Well, you look at China, China's going, all the people that we're offending now, that just opens the door for China to go in and start business with those countries,
Mm-hmm.
been our allies, and I think all of us have done business with China. China produces so many goods and affords us a great lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Would we be without China? Uh, the whole idea of bringing manufacturing back, that's just a bunch of bull. That's just that, you know, pounding on the pulpit kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Get tired of
I would
that.
I think better suggestion is we have some things that the Army produces. If we have to have a product like computer chips or something like that that we don't have enough of, we need to have a segment of the Army that produces those things. So we don't have to be totally dependent upon China. I think that's a better strategy. What he's doing, I think, is kind of alienating the world. Why did he mess with Mexico? Why did he mess with Canada? Couldn't you talk to him silently? The way it's looking now, he's being a bully. You could have accomplished the same thing. Hey, y'all have a trade deficit with us. We need to have a better arrangement. But when you put it out there and saying, y'all do this or else, what's that country going to do? They're going to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Now, it does look like he's being able to negotiate with certain countries. But that strategy, I don't. Now, he's supposed to be the art of the deal. We'll see how that's going to turn out. But right now with China, I do not see that that's a win-win. I do not see that's going to be a win-win. And it's going to end up affecting our relations. I'm going to say in 4 years, they may take over Taiwan.
Mm-hmm. That's very
Of course,
possible.
they're going to say, okay, we're not playing with you no more, Trump. We're going to do, because they have 3 billion people. And
Right.
I don't think it's a good strategy to
Mess with
attack
them.
them and make them a total adversary like that. We'll
Right.
just see.
I mean,
With
again,
people,
going back to he's in 1950 or 1940 or somewhere. Like, we're in a whole different era. Like, China, like, they have just as much power. And, you know, he's thinking, oh, they don't have this, they don't have that. I don't know what he's thinking, but they're just as powerful. And they're looking over like we don't need you. You need us. Like, have
That's
you
right.
checked the scale here? Like, the last time I checked, hello.
Hmm.
He's so out of touch with reality. I think that's the scariest part, is that he's not going back to being so rich and in their own bubble. They're not in touch with reality. So it doesn't affect them directly. You heard what he said? We're gonna have to tough it out. Who's we?
Mhm.
well, he's talking about the regular citizens like
Yeah,
you
that's
and
what
me.
he's talking about. Yeah. That would be you and I and us on here, and the rest of the right, not the one, the 1%, if it's even 1%. Yeah, they're not going to be touched, but everybody else is going to have to tough it out. What madness is that? Well, I mean, who says that? Like, what? Think about that.
And I do think the deportation scare, because people are not sure how far you're going to go now. The regular or the billionaire class or the rich class, they say, okay, that's not going to affect me. So they're okay with it right now. But let him deport, somebody who has some means or somebody who has a name or something, and it'll start. Well, people are already scared about that. They're already scared about, because he said homegrown deportation. Who is going to be those people that he's going to deport if he does? Who are going to be those people? Is it just going to be those who have a criminal record? Now, Khalid in Colombia did not have a criminal record as far as we know. The man in Maryland did not have a criminal record. They looked at his tattoo and say, you must be a part of MS-13. Because they look at me with an ankh on and say, hey, I'm a bad person. Could they look at somebody with a cross on or a Jewish symbol? I mean, where does that stop? I don't know. But right now he has still the backing of his MAGA base and people in the middle, because he's getting rid of what he's saying is the incorrigibles. And people are down for that. That's why he got elected. But we'll see. It's starting to turn. We are toward the end of our program. It was a nice conversation. Michelle, do you want to share how anybody can reach you, but as well as give a full answer on where you think this deportation and that climate is going to go to?
It's so hard to tell, because we have somebody in the White House that we have never had ever before, who's unpredictable, ignorant, and
He's
a
different than
narcissist.
how he even was in the first term.
So what I think is that he's going to keep supporting people, and then it's going to turn into something a little different, where it's going to be, well, if we're able to do this the way we're doing it now, let's start to deport even the brown people that did a crime in the United States. Let's get them out of the country. Like Escape from New York. Like when they had them all in New York City, that futuristic movie Escape from New York, where they made that a whole New York City, a whole war. Yeah, they're gonna have a place, and they're just gonna ship us out and do and we're gonna ship this shit. Gonna start shipping people out there. So I think that could be possible. Why couldn't it not? Because that he's testing the waters. If this is working, why wouldn't he? He's got
You know,
ICE on Rikers Island. That's illegal.
yeah.
Our
You know,
governor is fighting it. Not
Also
our
have
mayor.
Guantanamo.
Our governor's fighting it. But the mayor's like, well, okay, you can be there. You're a freaking cop. Like, you know he's not supposed to be there. But, oh, okay. So our governor stepped in and was like, no, we're going to take this to the court because this is, ICE should not be on Rikers Island.
Yeah.
So do you want to share anything on how anybody can reach you if they have a comment?
Absolutely. They can reach me. Do I want them calling me about this? How can they reach me? Maybe on my Facebook page, Michelle Cobin Folia, if you want to talk about it. I mean, it's my business page. I'm all about beauty and love and all that kind of stuff. I'm very peaceful, but I'm also a people person. So you can reach me on there if you want to talk about it.
Give a shout out about your business, what your business products
My
are.
business is Mary Kay Cosmetics. I sell cosmetics for a living. I teach women how to take care of themselves. I teach women how to start a business and be independent contractors. That's what I do through the platform of Mary Kay. I also substitute teach. But subjects like this is super important because this is our government. This is where we live. I know half of my organization, they're all, I laugh because they're all like, they're from somewhere else. And then they're like, where are you from, Michelle? I'm like, America. They're like, you are? What? I'm like, yeah, I'm American. Well, where are your parents from? You know, America? A slave ship, I guess. So it's that deep. So I'm not and where I am not the average. I am the not the average. I'm the minority.
Okay.
I'm the minority and I'm the minority. But they can reach out because I do get on people. I see through my feeds and I do talk about how important this is. And there's a woman up in I'm sorry to go off topic. I think she's somewhere. It's always cold. She's like in some part of the Midwest somewhere. And she's a white woman. And she is like everything she could flash about Trump and this, that, and they're destroying her. And I'm just like, go, sister, go. Like she's not what you would think. Like she's out in Red Valley and she's just
There's a lot of people across the board that are agitated about what's going on.
Yeah.
You wonder, how did he get elected in a landslide?
Yeah.
You know,
that's what I'm saying.
He got a lot of people thinking, and as Rusty mentioned, hey, 2026 may be a change, but can we survive that long? Can we survive that long before it's critically changed? Rusty, you want to give your final comment?
Yeah, you know, as I'm thinking about all this, you know, England created Australia as a penal colony. And so it's like he's trying to do El Salvador as a penal colony, and he wants to, you know, make Canada the 51st state. Well, maybe El Salvador the 52nd state, and that's our new colony. You know, he's going to find something outlandish to do to try to control the American people, not just the immigrants. So everybody needs to be on guard, and I all just need to start speaking up. I'm talking to my family more directly than I ever have because you know they voted for him. They were supportive of him. I've not been supportive of him. So, but I think we just have to, and it comes down to a personal, interpersonal level that we just have to begin talking to each other and see if we can save it.
And I want to remind people that he's 78 and doesn't have any filter anymore. Doesn't have any restraint. Whatever he thinks of, he's just gonna try it or try to figure out some way to do it. And you know, and he's trying to do it so fast because he doesn't know how long he's gonna last. And that's a dangerous thing. And
yeah,
we'll see how that's gonna go. Rusty, would you like to share anything your Facebook page or something?
I'm Rusty Adams, Houston, Texas, Chiang Mai, Thailand. You can find me there. And I'd be happy to receive any comments.
Rusty
Okay. Well,
I was thinking of coming to Thailand after watching White Lotus. I'm like, oh, that's a place to go.
I've not seen White Lotus, but I hear it's a really good show. But
I haven't
certainly
seen it either, but I may have to look at it. And now
It's
that you
filmed in Thailand. Yeah, Thailand.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay, well, I'm gonna check that out. Coming up, our next show on the Sourceseeker Hour, we're gonna talk about entertainment, culture, and how it's affected by this new era that we're in. Different things are happening in the entertainment industry as well as culture, and we're gonna talk about that. As well as on this Sunday, we have a mental health seminar in Galveston, Texas.
Mm.
So that's just a shout out. That is one of the pet peeves I work on, Michelle, in all aspects of mental health. I work with mental health professionals, and Sunday once a month we always have a show called Minding Our Mental Wellness in our network, as well as I have a sports program that I do also, and we're going to have one tomorrow. Across the board and everything, a lot of things are happening, and we try to stay up on everything. So I thank you all, and any final comment?
Thank you for what you're doing.
I thank you for participating, and we're going to continue. This is our 172nd, and we're going to continue, and we look forward to 200, then 500, and so forth. All right. Well, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.